welcome to Dandelion Lessons here on Patreon. And today I was cleaning out my books that sit by my reading chair, and there's one book that I wanted to share with you today. And this is a book that I keep next to my chair always, and when I go on a trip I take it with me always. Ever since I read it, it hasn't left my side. So I really want to share it with you. And I know I've mentioned it before on a YouTube video, so you may have seen it there. But it's called The Unknown Craftsman, and it's this very unassuming book. And I bought it used. And it is written by Suetsu Yanagi originally, the main part of the text. And the foreword was written by Bernard Leach, who is a very famous potter that you may have heard of. And it was translated by Japanese translators, and then Leach further translated it into English from their translation. You know what I mean? I mean, they translated it into English, and then he made it beautiful. So it's called The Unknown Craftsman, A Japanese Insight into Beauty. And I went through it this morning, and I marked a few passages that I wanted to read to you, and then to spark a discussion and some thoughts before we go on to our project. So I'm just going to move some of my tools. The first part of the book are examples of Japanese and Korean pottery and art and architecture, and it's really beautiful to look through and meaningful to the text. But the text begins the second half of the book, and the whole thing is just amazing, and it's where I learned the most about the Japanese aesthetic of shibui. And I think I'll do another video on that sometime, which is probably my biggest guiding light for my own practice, shibui. So I just want to go through and read a few things, and then that will spark some other thoughts. So in this section, he's talking about the work of the individual artist or craftsman compared to the work of a community of craftsmen. Because there was a time, and there still are these examples throughout the world, but there was a time in Japan and also in Korea and other Asian countries that craft was elevated to an art form, and it still is in my heart. But craft, meaning, let's say pottery for an example, was made by a collective of craftsmen, okay, a community of craftsmen. And the reason the book has the title, The Unknown Craftsman, is because these people did not sign their work. And the reason why is because they believed in the collective beauty of community, not necessarily trying to be an individual all the time, but trying to be a person who ushered beauty into the world along with other people, okay? So there's this sense of community that I always talk about. So when he says this kind of work, he's talking about the difference between the individual craftsman and artist and the collective. He says, "It is this kind of work to which Suetsu Yanagi persistently referred. His main criticism of individual craftsmen and modern artists is that they are over-proud of their individualism. I think I am right in saying Yanagi's belief was that the good artist or craftsman has no personal pride, because in his soul he knows that any prowess he shows is evidence of that other power. Therefore, what Yanagi says is, take heed of the humble, be what you are by birthright. There is no room for arrogance." So when I first read this, it was like an aha moment for me, and it's what I sort of felt in my heart all along as a creator, that when we create something beautiful and we put our whole heart into it, and we spend time with our art and our craft every day, and we use the tools and materials that are precious to us, and we have a sense of sharing and community in our work, there is no room for arrogance or feeling like, let me put it this way, when we do something, it is okay to say, oh my gosh, that's beautiful, right? I paint things all the time that just, I love what I make. And I feel this love of beauty for what I make. But it's not in a way that I feel like I'm better than somebody else. Because I know that creativity is a collective energy and that ushering beauty into the world is a community thing. Okay, we're all in it together. And there's no room for pride and arrogance. And I think, I think back to certain schools of art, especially in the West, for instance, Expressionism, which I'm not, I love it. I mean, I love to look at it. I love to look at Rothko's work, at Helen Frankenthaler. I mean, I love the works, and I understand what they were trying to achieve, and it was very specific to a time and place in history and the climate of the world. And yet, I don't feel, as a person who creates, I don't feel a need to constantly be inventing something that's unique to me, right? Because I know that everything I do falls on the backs and shoulders and hard work of other people, because I am constantly inspired by what I see around me. We all are, okay? And so it's hard for me. I can take credit for showing up and doing the work, but anything that I create that is beautiful also has this immense foundation in that other power. Okay, and I don't know what that is. I have personal feelings about what that is. We all have personal feelings about what that other power is. I mean, one of my favorite poets, Jane Kenyon, talked about the Holy Spirit, and maybe that's something that's meaningful to us. Maybe it's some kind of divine entity, a God, or the other being a vast creator like Mother Nature. We have many ways to approach that and look at it, and it's all very individual to each of us. But what matters is that we recognize it. We recognize that it's bigger than just us. Okay? So that is a really beautiful thing. So this one, I would like to believe that beauty is of deep import to our modern age. Without question, the intention of morality, philosophy, and religious belief is to bring hope, joy, peace, and freedom to mankind. And I would like to add to that the creation of art, okay? It is to bring hope, joy, peace, and freedom to mankind. But in our time, religion has lost its grip. Intellectualism has undermined spiritual aspiration in most people. At this juncture, I would put the question, might not beauty and the love of the beautiful perhaps bring peace and harmony? Could it not carry us forward to new concepts of life's meaning? Would it not establish a fresh concept of culture? Would it not be a dove of peace between the various cultures of mankind? Wow. That is my core belief. It makes me almost want to cry because, friends, I just really believe that beauty unites us. We all have a sense of beauty in the world around us. And sometimes it's sad, and sometimes it's joyful. Beauty is a huge, vast thing that's hard to define. We can't really define it. But I think what it does to all of us is it elevates our way of being in the world. And I just truly believe that if we foster the love of beauty in our young people, in our children, and in ourselves, and in our friends, and our communities, that the world would be a better place. And that it's this dove of peace. I love that idea. It's this bringing together of many different kinds of people and beliefs and philosophies and cultures. We all share the love of beauty, whatever that means. So that was a really, really important passage to me. And then, let's see, this one. Work without innate beauty is dead work. That is why the artist-craftsman is important to us. The need of our time is for the artist-craftsman not only to produce his own good work, but also to ally himself closely with the artisan, so that eventually we may have beauty in common things again. I love that. So it's that idea that we have to each take that responsibility on ourselves to create beauty and usher it into the world. But we also need to ally ourselves closely with others who are doing the same. Okay? Simple, but hard to do, and it isn't done all the time. We still have this culture of competitiveness, that we're all trying to be better than the next person. And it's just not the way. It's not my way. And it's not the way that I feel benefits us all and benefits our world. So here, this is in a chapter called The Buddhist Idea of Beauty. And this is under East and West. There is another matter that may lie within the realm of beauty. It is a truism to say that most men desire peace and loathe war. It is equally a truism to note that peace is not easily attained. Is it enough to say that war is a punishment for sin, a punishment that winner and loser share alike? More immediate, perhaps, is the fact that man tries to solve his differences by political means, always taking into first consideration the advantage that might accrue to his own country. Under such circumstances is war not inevitable? And I want to stop right there because that's a really important thing to me, that as whole societies and nations, that often war is a way to give our own country an advantage. Not always. I mean, I would say a war like World War II was a collective effort against evil, in many ways. But in the end, there really are no winners and losers because everybody loses in war, right? But we can simplify this and think about it in terms of just our own personal relationships. And that if we're always taking into first consideration our own advantages, right? It's just not the way that's going to bring peace and harmony into the world and to better life for everyone, okay? I believe, however, that it is possible for man to break through national barriers. Oh, me too. Me too. And I believe further that it is in the realm of beauty that he may most easily accomplish this. Me too. True, even in the world of art, disputes arise out of opposing theories and principles. Nevertheless, a beautiful object is undeniably beautiful, and by its universal appeal has the power, at least temporarily, to make people forget their selfish nationalism. It is one of the virtues of beauty that it has this power, to make one forget oneself and so put an end to strife. Happily, each nation has its own art, an expression of its particular perception of beauty. By looking at the art of all peoples, by loving and respecting it, the nations of the world can, I believe, achieve mutual spiritual harmony. Yes, yes, I believe that too. So these are big things. These are big things to think about, but they're worth thinking about. And if you would like to get this book, I know you can purchase it new and used on Amazon.com. It is a very worthwhile book, and I would say has been the most influential book on my own path as a creator. Okay? So that's The Unknown Craftsman. So I mostly want you to think about these things yourself, and maybe we can form a discussion in the comments, about our own thoughts about this. But the things that I read to you are really important things to me. And I think what I'm going to do now is just put on some music and just do some painting. And I'm going to really simplify my tools and materials. I've been thinking about that a lot too. When I create, to simplify, and let whatever that other power is speak through me and my simple tools and materials. When I say simple, I don't mean ordinary, not necessarily, but really choose them carefully and mindfully. And so today, I have a piece of watercolor board. It's board by Canson. They're inexpensive watercolor boards, but they're very nice. And I have here this beautiful treasure box of paint made by Margot of Earth Mineral Arts. And look at the gorgeousness. And it's wrapped in this beautiful fabric. And then inside is this little amulet of watercolor paint. Okay, it's called Hawk's Rust Orange, and it's got a ribbon tied to it that's been stained with the pigment, and I find it incredibly beautiful. So I'm going to use that. I'm going to use this one color, and then I have a little pan of Wild Thorn Sun Gold Mica, which is one of my favorite things to put into every painting, and I have a beautiful piece of citrine that I like to keep near when I paint with this color. Some paper towels, a jar of water, and my trusty Chinese paintbrush that I've had for a long time, wrapped with handmade, hand-spun yarn by my friend Janet, who's here with us on Patreon. And I'm going to take a sip of my drink. Hold on. I'm a little hoarse. I don't know. Okay, but before I begin, I just want to draw a soul card. And sometimes it guides me, and maybe it won't, but I'm just going to kind of rifle through them. And split them and see what card comes up. I've had this card before on here, I think. Okay, so what I love right away is that it has this beautiful orange color that I've chosen to work with today. And I see this entity with the fertileness of Mother Nature, with her arms enclosing two others, but I'm not sure about that she's covering their eyes. I'll have to think about that. But the general feeling is very peaceful. Maybe it's nurturing and protective. Maybe it's protective. So I'm going to have this near me while I work. Okay? Okay, so I allowed my painting to dry a little bit, then I came back to look at it, and what I see right away, and this was not intentional at all, and I didn't see it until now, but I see a man and a donkey doing their work together. That's what I see. But oh my gosh, how beautiful can one color be with touches of gold, right? So beautiful. I'll take a good picture of it and drop it into the video at the end. So what I would like you to do is to sit with your tools and materials and choose one brush that really speaks to you, and a piece of paper, any kind of paper, and one watercolor, one color that you really love, and and maybe a metallic to enhance it a little bit. And I want you to do sort of a meditative work and just let your tools and materials be guided by that other power. Okay, but let your hand be guided. And I want you to see what you come up with. No expectations, no pre-planning, just paint and see what you come up with, and you can share it with us on the community if you want. But I think how I want to close is everything that I'm trying to do here and on YouTube and on Instagram, and everything I do as someone who shares what I learn and what I think about with others, is to inspire you and others to usher beauty into the world in your own way, but as a community. So I want us to think about the difference between individualism and community, and how we can usher beauty into the world as a collective. Not so much for our own benefit. I mean, it will benefit us. It always does, right? When we share. I mean, this benefits me financially. It's the truth. I mean, it does. And maybe somehow it will benefit you financially too, but that's not why I do it. I'm benefiting financially so that I can do more of it, so that I can allow myself that time, because I have to pay bills and I have to feed my family and I have to, all of those things. So as an adult, we always have to think about that, right? But it's not the reason why I do it. All right. And so what I really want is I want to inspire community and a sense of community with other creators, and to allow people to discover their own desire to usher beauty into the world. And I'm giving you the tools and the techniques to do that in your own way, but in a way that's collective. Okay, we can all make tiny landscapes together. You know what I mean? We don't need to be one better than the other. It's just, that's not why we do this. So we are ushering beauty into the world because I believe that that's what unites us. This common foundational love of beauty, and beauty is an immense word. It can mean a love for our children and love for our neighbor and love for the earth that surrounds us and supports us and sustains us. Beauty inspires us to care and to love and to have joy and to feel good about being alive in this world right now together, and to care for one another and support one another. So those things are all very important to me, and I know they are to you too. And we share that, and I think they're important to everyone, even people that we are completely opposed to philosophically or politically or whatever. We all share the common desire for a better world. Okay, we just have different ways of getting there sometimes. But beauty can be a uniter. I truly believe that. It's very important. So that's it for today. I hope this was helpful and has been a little bit thought-provoking for you. And I hope that you'll try this exercise and share it with us. If you have any questions, if you have any thoughts, please share them in the comments. I would love to read them, and I would love for this to spark a discussion between us. Not just me, but all of you together. So we're all here together. This is our space. Okay? Thank you so, so much for being here. I so appreciate you. And I'm so grateful to have this time to spend creating these videos and spending time in discussion and answering questions and fostering this community. Thank you.